everyone, this is James.
Marco.
Nabil.
Yeah, Mikey.
And this is the Movie Pals podcast number 192. Today we are going to be going over the Oscars as a little topic of the week, a little discussion, upcoming Oscar celebration awards, followed by us continuing our voyage into Star Trek with a review of Star Trek First Contact. Then our main review of Captain America Brave New World. Let's get into it.
It's the topic of the week.
So for our topic of the week, guys, it's the Oscars. Oscars. As we do every year, we will be doing a little competition for our Oscars, so Oscar bowling. As we all know, last year, Nabil victoriously took the lead there.
It was an upset even for Nabil. I did not know what was going on there.
Sure he did. Sure he did. Sure, yeah. He's like, I didn't even know what's going to win, guys. Me, Marco, Mikey, we made some bad choices. You know, we thought, hey, maybe some of these other ones won't work, or we thought
we could out Oscar the Oscars, and we were wrong.
Yeah,
there was a lot of bad choices on my part. I won't say them all.
Oh, and I mean, I don't even think I chose Boy in the Heron last year. I think for anime feature.
Yeah, there's some good ones. You went
like,
heavy in, and
I thought Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was gonna be the one for the boys. And then I was like, how did Bobby not win costume design? I remember there was like a string of bad ones. I was like, good God. Yeah. It just, yeah. So, congrats to whatever website Nabil used to make his picks.
Jesus.
And base them all off of. So,
I always feel the love here.
So, yeah, we are just going to go through some of, I know this has been a while, but it's also been a while since we had an episode, by the way, as you guys probably know. I went through, I was doing some family stuff, so I was out for a bit. And the guys can't basically do the podcast without me. So,
because we love you so much. It's not the same without you here, James.
Yeah, true.
Well, this is coming from Nabil, who's wearing a Carhartt beanie right now. And I like to call him out for stole the belt.
He's upset about it. He's just jealous that I look so good in it. That's all. I understand.
He's wearing a prison jumpsuit and a brown Carhartt beanie.
So I'm blending in with my surroundings, guys.
And I'm wearing a cutoff hoodie, so,
Missouri is a different place here. All right.
Very for Mark. But well, I know.
Rocky 2, Rocky 3?
Rocky 3, I think. Yeah, that's where he fought Mr. T on
it's
the beach.
Snowing, you gotta be ready for anything out of here. Dress for success, as they say.
I guess.
Channeling my inner Clubber Lang.
Yeah. Get on my way, fool. So I do want to start with, we're not going to go over every category. It's mostly like we've been watching a lot of Oscar films leading up to this. Mm-hmm. Just want some thoughts on things that maybe stood out. I do not want to talk about what we're going to pick so far, so we don't reveal our cards here. We still have some time. We have roughly about 2 weeks. So let's start with actor in a leading role, right? We had Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes, for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Did you think anybody got snubbed out of this one? For me, everything's just challengers. I'm like, I can't believe challengers didn't get single thing.
Yeah, I'd say that's the one that I would.
That's the whole Oscars, that they got snubbed. This
is like the farewell, just for another year for me on that like that. I was like, not a single one. Favorite movie of the year
would have been great. Yeah,
I know, man.
I don't think for this category though. I wouldn't replace somebody on this list with one of the guys from that movie.
I know you have not seen The Brutalist yet, Marco. It is going to be on VOD next week. And then also, Nabil and Marco, you have not seen A Complete Unknown yet.
Not yet.
Correct.
So I do have to start it out. Like I said, this is a little more loosey-goosey. But so what did you think of Conclave, Marco?
Best film ever?
I agree. Yeah.
Okay,
baby. I'm a cup of tea, baby.
I fell asleep 3 times.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one time, actually the very first run, I fell asleep for like 40 minutes of the movie. And then I thought, oh man, I'm still at the beginning, and realized, I'm 40 minutes into the movie. And
Marco said, they're still in the same room right now, talking to each other.
Basically. I'll say this, the performances were good. Okay, Ralph Fiennes, he's a great actor, man. He did really good. I think the supporting cast did good. I didn't care what they were doing, what they were saying. It didn't really, reach out to me. It's funny because for a second I thought that the one action scene that you guys were talking about happened like off screen.
The one that Bill ruined for me. Yeah.
Yeah, like
It was in the
there was technically two. There was one that happens like and nothing happens inside the building, and I was like, that was it. I was like, that's so lame. And then all of a sudden, like the real one happens. I'm like, oh, okay.
Marco's like, man, DeBille really kind of overplays the movies he likes, doesn't he? You're like, that wasn't.
I see what
like,
DeBille
we
like.
don't do that in this podcast. Yeah, no one's done that here.
The conversations that do take place, I say, are well acted. They are well acted. I just,
They are.
Again, I don't care what they have to say.
It was not my cup of tea either. It was way too slow paced. But I get it why it's on there. But I mean, I thought.
Can I say something that's spoilery?
Oh yeah, of course. Go ahead.
I didn't expect the hermaphrodite at the end. I was like, oh, that
was a controversial twist that they were saying about. But I was like,
when that happened, I was like this. I was like.
But it was out of nowhere. It was.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to go one route, and they went a totally different route. Which I was like, okay. I mean, that is a natural occurrence in the world that happens. But all right, I didn't think you'd go that route. All right, okay.
Not in a million years would I have thought that is how the movie would have ended. By the way,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
Bill kind of kind of led onto it when he was going over the top 10 movies. And I was kind of worried about it too. I watched it and I saw it and I was like, okay, my parents are going to hate this movie. So yeah, my parents are really religious and they wanted to watch this movie just because of the context of it. And I kind of warned them like, hey, there might be some stuff you didn't like, but they actually didn't mind the ending. You know, it's obviously not the way they wanted to go, but they didn't mind it.
Sitting around blankly staring at each other. I thought though, out of the movies, I thought The Brutalist, I thought it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed that movie a lot. That was a really good cinematic movie. I went and saw Complete Unknown by myself. I thought
What?
Timothée Chalamet did really well, by the way.
I would have seen it with you.
I don't think anyone was available when I went.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was actually really surprised by Sing Sing.
I didn't mind Sing Sing. It wasn't like the most fast-paced film. I know we've all seen Sing Sing at this point, but I got a little emotional at the end when they started showing like, the prisoners and that they were actually like playing themselves. I was like, oh, my heart.
Dude, I didn't realize that until the credits at the end. It's pretty crazy.
That's when, I was like, oh, my heart.
I'll say it. I got kind of tear jerky when the prisoner who was not about it or anything at all, and he ends up using the word. He says the word.
He wasn't about that life. He was trying to be a thug in there, man.
No, yeah. He wasn't really buying into the program or anything, and then he uses the word that they call each other in the program, which is beloved, and he used that on the guy. And at the beginning, he was like not willing to call him that.
No, not at all, man. He's like, "What are you guys talking about?"
That got me here, and when he pulled dude back into it and snapped him out of it,
he wrote the movie. He wrote the movie, by the way.
Dang, yeah, that was a really good scene. That was a surprising one for me because I was like, "What is this?" You know,
and he actually was in that program in real life. He's playing himself.
Yeah. I didn't know it was based on a true story
in the supporting role, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, I liked at the end of the movie too how they mix in real footage with the movie too. Like,
it's almost seamless at the very end. Yeah, I like that a lot. It was a much better film overall than I thought it was going to be. I actually enjoyed it. I saw Nabil at first give it 4 stars and I was like, why giving it 4 stars, Nabil? And then I went in and said, all right, I see why.
It got slowed towards the end.
And then The Apprentice was just kind of weird, honestly, the way that it was shot. I don't like it. Was shot like a documentary style. I got to give it to Sebastian Stan, though. Pretty good performance, but
he did really good. There were a few moments where he reminded me of Jimmy. Yeah. I like
Jeremy Strong a lot too. His part,
I was dying. I was like, "Oh, Jimmy."
And he's like, if he was alive during the 80s, he probably would have done this too. Burned all his friends. As soon as somebody got the big old AIDS, he'd be like, "How do you get that?"
Yeah, he really did well in that role. I'll give it up to him too.
Yeah, it pretty much went where I thought it was going to go, though, and I do think the pacing on it was just a little too slow for me.
I think really just like in Conclave, I think it's just the performances that was good about that movie.
Yeah. Let's jump into the next one, guys. Actor supporting role. We got Yuri Borisov in Anora. He's the bodyguard guy. Kieran Culkin in Real Pain. Edward Norton, The Complete Unknown. Guy Pearce in The Brutalist. And Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. So, anything stand up for you on this one, Nabil?
I was surprised at how much I liked Kieran Culkin in that film. He kind of himself in Succession, and I was like, he's just playing the same character, but at the same time, it kind of worked. In the same way that Jesse Eisenberg also played himself in that film.
Dude, Jesse Eisenberg plays himself in every movie.
Yeah, I was like, but it works for that film. I don't know if it could work in another film that, if it wasn't set in this kind of setting.
I want to say that was probably my number one complaint about that movie is the fact that Jesse Eisenberg
Oscar Beatty.
It is a bit, but really it's just that Jesse Eisenberg, like, he's the same guy in every movie.
Was it I gotta ask, like, he's talking like he's got like a wife and a kid, and I was like, I can't imagine him with a kid. It's the same. I was like, he just says that. I was like,
he reminds me of someone, James, who actually is in that position, and he had to re-record some things.
Oh God! Okay,
in a podcast once, and
I know where that's going.
It's almost identical. I'm like, no.
You're like, you're raising offspring? Wow.
Oh God,
that's wild.
Yeah, it's almost identical to that situation.
I knew you'd like it a lot more. Real Pain didn't really do it for me, honestly.
From a movie perspective, it's
not even that long too. It's an hour and a half, and
it's a nice 90 minutes though. It's
it is a nice 90. It doesn't, but it's one of those movies that from the first like 5 to 10 minutes, I was like, I can tell you exactly how this entire movie's gonna play out.
You already knew from the get.
It felt like an early 2000s movie for me.
Like a 2010s movie for me.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, mid 2000s. Yeah.
I agree, but I mean that is kind of cool. Jesse Eisenberg, that's his directorial debut, I believe, right?
And he wrote the film too, I believe.
And he wrote it,
yeah. He wrote it too. Yeah.
Nora, I thought was great. By the way, I really enjoyed Nora. So
Jimmy really related to that one. I'm telling you guys right now, like a lot. I really enjoyed that one too, man.
This seems very familiar.
No, I really liked it. It's cool that the guy got a nomination for the supporting role. He's like the only one that's actually even relatively nice to her. Genuinely,
I like the first half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
For that, yes. I enjoyed it. Well, I would say that the first half is a lot different from this. It's almost two movies in a way. That's how I felt. But I enjoyed it overall. Like you guys were telling me, like to check it out. I was like, I liked it.
When they're being towed and dude just rips the front of the SUV just trying to get out of there.
What are you doing?
Like, that's definitely a Jimmy move right there.
Just drive. Just keep driving. We'll figure it out later. Oh my God. Everyone's making me sound like a monster here. Thanks, Marco.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Jeez.
Mikey and I have seen The Complete Unknown. I will say Edward Norton definitely deserves that one. He was really good in this movie.
Yeah, I liked him. I mean, I think everybody in that movie did a pretty good job, actually. Elle Fanning as well. Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah. Guy Pearce in The Brutalist, though, is... that's a rough one, right? Good God.
I always like Guy Pearce in general, so it's not like a crazy role for him to do, but he definitely sells the character in that movie. Like
he comes off guns blazing in the first scene you meet him in, and you're like... But it also shows you his character's kind of easy ability to switch sides as soon as something doesn't go his way, is what I'll say without going into too much in that.
Yep.
And then I thought Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice is fantastic, by the way.
Strong performance. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I thought he was great.
It was a really good performance. He played that.
He's basically like, this is the role that I'm. This is how you do things, and this is how you become successful. And it's it's how Sebastian Stan's character playing Donald Trump basically bases his life from. So, and then he takes full credit for it by the end, which is kind of hilarious. Like, oh my God! So
sounds about right.
Let's blast to this actress in a leading role. We got Cynthia Erivo in Wicked, Carlos Sofia Gascon and Emilia Perez, Mikey Madison for Nora, Demi Moore in The Substance, and Fernanda Torres as I'm Still Here. I'll say this much. I can't believe... I know Demi Moore is riding this wave of things. Like, The Substance got this many nominations. You don't really see horror films get a lot of things like this. I'm like, this is weird.
That film was fine. Like, it wasn't a bad film or anything. It's just... I feel like it's getting a lot more accolades than I would have maybe given it personally.
Same here, because I saw this in theaters with Mikey, and I remember even saying, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It kind of loses itself at the end, in my opinion, but I didn't think it would be like an award show darling. Like, it's become like, good God, like, what's going on here?
Like we talked about in our top 10, too, there was a lot of great horror films last year, and not that Substance isn't a good one, but I feel
no
like...
long legs at all, right? That's what you're trying to say, right?
Exactly.
Now streaming on Hulu, just saying.
I think it wasn't that much of a horror movie as it was more kind of like a shocker thriller. Really,
I'd say like body horror, almost.
Yeah, true. It was
Cronenberg-esque.
Rough to watch, man. Yeah, very Cronenberg-esque. That's what surprised me about it being nominated. Is like, dude, I can pretty much tolerate a lot on screen for the most part. I'm like, I know a lot of people that can't. I'm like, how would they be able to rewatch this? Because you think Oscar movies are movies that you can, rewatch,
sometimes, yeah. Sometimes.
And that movie, I'm like, dude, really good. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I'm watching in a while because there was some scenes where I'm just like, geez, dude, that's fucking, that's freaking creepy, dude.
Well, I think
especially the. Oh, go ahead, Mikey.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think really what people kind of draw themselves towards this movie is it really has a message, and the message is not like kind of just like half-assed. It's the whole movie is the message, right? And they kind of build this world where it's like just everything in the whole movie is just that message, and it's hitting you in the face every single time. And I think it really kind of grasps people that way. So I can see why people kind of wanted it to succeed and kind of went for the nominations.
Yeah. Wicked, I can see why she got it. Amelia Perez, I didn't like it as much as you guys. At least in Bill and Mikey, I know you guys liked it.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know, Marco, if you liked Amelia Perez as much.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was
middle of the road. I don't know why this movie, like a known movie out of nowhere, started getting a lot of buzz.
I told James, I texted him, I was like, never thought I'd see a movie that made Joker 2 music.
Oh no, yeah, you sent it to the group. I was like, I wouldn't go that far, but
it was cool that they tried to like genre bend it and mix, the two styles of movies.
I had no idea it was like a musical until I started watching it. I was like, wait, is this a musical? I was like, oh god. So
I thought the music was fine. Like it wasn't. I think the premise of the movie was what was more unique to me, and I kind of enjoyed that. And I mean, Carlos Sofia Gascon was okay. Like, I think the star of this film was Zoe Saldana, to be honest. So I was a little surprised that she was nominated compared to, say, Angelina Jolie from Maria. Like, I actually thought Angelina Jolie was pretty good. I was telling you that, James. It's like the Iron Lady situation with Meryl Streep, where she was. I was like, why? Meryl Streep was playing
all time. Yeah.
Yeah, and the movie didn't get any noms, but she got nominated for Best Actress. I kind of feel the same way. Like, Maria was fine, but I feel like Angelina Jolie definitely got snubbed in this nomination.
I did too. Especially when, Mikey Manson, though, was really good in Nora, too.
Yeah.
And I know
100%.
Nabil and Marco, you guys have not seen I'm Still Here Yet, but not Mikey yet. And I have seen that, and that's a really solid movie. That's a very eye-opening,
I see right now,
somber film, I would say, too. So
she does a fantastic job, too.
She's a mom in that one, trying to keep her family together during the 1970s Brazil when the government's just taking people in the middle of the night, and it's crazy. So
doing whatever they want. It's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, no. Mikey was speaking fluent Portuguese by the end of it. It was insane. I was like, wow, Mikey, I didn't know. He's like, I just really don't know. I love it. Yeah. So actors in the supporting role, though, we have Monica Barbero in A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande in Wicked, Felicity Jones in Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini in Conclave, and Zoe Saldana in Amelia Perez. I gotta say this first off the bat. I don't know why Isabella Rossellini got nominated for Conclave. Is she in the movie for about 4 minutes and has one major scene?
Yeah, I was surprised too.
That's it.
She's the nun, like, I will watch over my sisters or something.
It's because it's Isabella Rossellini, that's why, and she's just Oscar bait for everything now.
I guess.
Her main scene was when she like steps up, is like, no, I did see that. I was witness to it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. And then I was like,
who are you again?
Yeah, I was like, really? This is who we're gonna do? Can do Zendaya? Okay, just saying.
Perfect girl for her right there. I mean, she would have been the lead, I guess, but still.
Maybe, I don't know. The way they do it too. Monica Barbera was really good in Complete Unknown though. She plays the kind of the rival to Bob Dylan, Mikey. Also love interest because our boy Bob was
he says everybody's a love interest.
he just kind of liked everybody. I'll say that much.
I liked Elle Fanning better than her in that movie.
I did too, actually, because Elle Fanning's the only character in that movie that really understands Bob and knows who he really is, while everybody else kind of just knows the guy on the records and the guy during the interviews on TV.
I know who you are.
Yeah. What am I? Felicity Jones, the Brutalist. That one's she doesn't have the most screen time. She's only actually in like the second half of that film, but she does a good job regardless. She plays a role that it's a little bit different from what I've seen her in before personally. So,
I mean, every time I see Felicity Jones, I want to like her in something, and I'm just like, I think you're portrayed better than you really are. This is a bad thing to say, but I don't think that like she was
like I wasn't a big Rogue One guy either. Sorry, boys.
I mean, Rogue One was fine, but in general, like in the Brutalist, I think you could swap her out with any other decent actress in there, and
she was good in Theory of Everything. I like her in that.
I like her in that one too.
Yeah, I like her in Rogue One also.
Too. And Bill's like, not for me.
No, I mean she's. I think there's always like a better actress nearby. I'm gonna say that. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my disagree, Bill.
Everybody, that's our friend Nabil here. Just want to let you know.
Hot takes.
Yeah. Directing, though, we got Sean Baker for Nora, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, James Mangold for Complete Unknown, Jacques West Audiard for Amelia Perez, and Carly Fargate for The Substance. This is all movies we've already talked about. Honestly, it depends on how you're looking at that one. Either somebody's going to sweep them all, or it's going to be like I can't imagine this be an Oscar where like the director doesn't win Best Picture kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
it's almost got to go.
Side question: do these Oscars does this year feel a little weird to you guys, or feel about like any other Oscar year?
No, this has been a little bit more direct on stuff.
I think it's more traditional, to be honest.
It feels like it's more back to like how it was a few years back, in my opinion. Outside of The Substance is the weirdest thing for me.
That's the one that kind of throws things off, but
that's
otherwise,
like the Lady in the Water kind of feel to me where I'm like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah,
I didn't realize everybody liked this as much.
I kind of like when they did that. Yeah.
No, which is fine. Like even the Substance, like for instance, Best Picture, like The Substance got nominated for Best Picture, which blows my mind.
So they got to get 10, but not challengers.
They don't have to because it's like. It's a Nora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, which, by the way, I feel like Dune Part 2 got snubbed a lot more than...
Dude, they didn't even get technical fields and a lot of things.
Yeah.
They got the visual effects and sound and stuff like that. One of the movies I do want to bring up is Nickel Boys. I know Marco and Nabil have not seen that one yet.
Technically, I haven't either.
Yeah, technically, Mikey's never seen it. He fell asleep for this first hour of the film. He was snoring very loudly. I had to do one of those weird like touches of the arm. Where you go? You just touch him like, hey.
You had to use the grip?
No, just a little.
Use that grip.
It's like, hey, the people behind you are mentioning you're snoring.
Stop embarrassing me, thank you.
Twice.
Yeah, you're making a fool out of me in here. You know what? Go take a lap. Go take your phone out. Go take a lap. Come back. Obviously, you need to wake up. That movie's really good though. I know that will be streaming by the end of next week on MGM Plus. It's already on VOD, but MGM Plus will have it on the 28th. So
I'll check it out.
The movie's actually told in a totally first-person view, by the way. So it's told by the perspective of two, I guess, friends / students at a school. It's pretty wild, man. It's based on a true story too. So I'm interested to see what you guys are gonna say about that one. So. We do have all those technical ones, but the ones that I did want to look at real quick were just kind of the writing ones here to end it out here for you guys. Writing wise, adapted screenplay, we do get A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. So that's interesting. I didn't really think outside of. I mean, my only snubs every year is just like I just wish more horror stuff got more recognized. Honestly,
no Terrifier 3. I know.
Is there a lot of strong writing in horror films though?
Yeah. Could be. Long Legs, Cuckoo, all really good writing. So swap Amelia Perez for that one, but that's just me, I guess. Just something me. What about a fun category? What about just fun? How about we have fun? And then the original
Entertainment
screenplay. Yeah. Original screenplay, we have Anora, Brutalist, Real Pain, September 5 or 5th in the substance. So September 5, I still have not seen. I'm going to see it though this week, probably. That's one of the last few I need to watch.
It's small, but it's good. It's good acting.
September 5th looks like a film that's made for the writing. Like it's made for this category. And
it looks really fast paced, where there's just a lot of like cuts to the newsroom. What's going on across the street? Whoa! Like I get it, but
papers flying everywhere.
Yeah, I will say for visual effects too, it is cool that Alien Romulus is on there. I do like that.
Yeah.
The Planet of the Apes is on there too. Some fun films.
I know a couple people said
the U.S. hasn't actually seen that film, but Better Man, it's out there. Robbie Williams, big deal.
It's another one we haven't seen. I mean, outside of total bomb of a film, which is, they really underestimated our knowledge of Robbie Williams, and apparently no one here cared. So,
honestly, though, the special effects are pretty well done. They look really good in the movie.
That's right. It looks good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Cool. Because it's a very expensive film for some reason. It has to be the specs.
Yeah. And then what were you saying, Marco?
No, we were talking about effects and Alien Romulus being nominated. I know a couple of people who recently told me that movie was mid, and I just like to say they were dead wrong.
Oh, I mean, I've talked to a few people that don't like it either, but
they were wrong.
Yeah, I liked it. I had a lot of fun with that movie.
Me too, man.
Visual effects wise, it looks visual. Yeah, I saw it there. 4DX, dude. It was a roller coaster.
4DX.
And overall, though, I'm having. I bring this up every time with the Oscar films. I am having fun doing these just because I do get to see a lot more movies, especially this last year. I didn't see a lot of like dramatic films and stuff. So this is my one time that I kind of jump back into it and got to see stuff a little bit more out of my comfort zone recently, and it's been nice kind of re-watching things like that or watching things like that. It's kind of a different perspective, especially. So
I think that's the cool part about this too, is watching movies that you probably otherwise wouldn't have seen.
Oh, definitely. Like I would have never seen Nickel Boys, and seeing Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here. Beautiful films. So
I do have to say as well, for me at least, I enjoyed this year much more than I have in years past. I think there's just maybe the eclecticity. I don't know if that's even a word, but there's a lot of different movies. There's a lot of different movies around, have different genres, different styles, and everything like that. So this movie kind of, even if you watch them, like I watch most of them just as fast as I can, basically. And since the movies were a lot different, I didn't mind going one after another. Yeah, I never do that though, because I'll forget about them, then I won't watch them. So I wanted to get them out of the way, and I just appreciate there was a lot of different stuff, out there that got nominated. I didn't get burned out this year like I did in past years.
Yeah, Mikey, I think you're just trying to flex that you've seen all of them already. Okay, I get it.
We get it, Mikey. You have no other commitments to anything else. We get it. It's really easy for you to see all these things. I used to be just like you. Cool. Let's jump into our voyage into Star Trek. So, if you guys are new here, we are going through all the Star Trek motion picture films. We are now on the 8th film in the Star Trek motion picture saga, I guess you might say. Call it Star Trek First Contact. And yes, I have heard you guys all loud and clear. As you can see now, the boys have seen it on our outline. We are just keeping the behind-the-scenes facts short and sweet, right to the point. Enough just to get you into the little taste. It's not going to be 10 minutes long. It's a nice, quick 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Stick along. We're going to tell you a little behind the scenes of Star Trek First Contact. So the story's evolution. First Contact originally had a very different concept, with early drafts featuring time travel to the Renaissance era before the writers settled on the Borg and Zefram Cotrane's warp flight. The story was also meant to be a generation sequel with a deeper focus on Picard's trauma for being assimilated in the next generation.
The Borg redesign and effects. The Borgs were completely reimagined for this film with a darker biomechanical look featuring cables, slime, and more horrific assimilation process. Stan Winston's team helped upgrade the makeup and prosthetics, and the Borg Queen's introduction added a new layer of menace. The film also blended CGI with practical effects, keeping the Borg as physically intimidating as possible.
I gotta ask though, do they look terrible in the show?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Is it just like who are these guys that grab a dollar store costume?
TV show in the early 90s. So, yeah.
For the time, it was kind of cool, but it hasn't really aged too well. It's like,
it's dated. Yeah.
Okay. I'll say in the movie here, they look pretty good. So,
yeah, they look a lot better than I remember. The Enterprise E and budget. With the destruction of the Enterprise D in Generations, the team designed the Enterprise E as a sleeker, more battle-ready ship to match the film's tone. First Contact had a $45 million budget, less than many blockbusters at the time, but strong visual effects and production design helped it feel much bigger. The film ended up grossing over $146 million, making it one of the most successful Star Trek movies.
The directing and reception, Jonathan Frakes, making his feature film directorial debut, was chosen because the studio wanted someone who understood Star Trek. His experience working with the cast helped make the film more character-driven while still delivering action and suspense. First Contact was widely praised, with many calling it the best The Next Generation film, and it remains one of the franchise's highest-rated entries.
I had no idea that he had directed this movie, by the way, until we just watch this now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Among the tradition of obviously like Leonard Nimoy and
the same thing, yeah. It's basically the same.
Leonard Nimoy did a few, and then also what's his name? William Shatner did one, right? So
yeah, Jonathan Frakes ends up directing some of the future shows too of Star Trek.
Yeah, he also did Insurrection coming up, as you guys will know.
All right, on to the review of Star Trek First Contact.
In his nightmares, he can see them. In his mind, he can hear them.
Locutus.
In his soul, he can feel them.
I've just received a report from Deep Space 5. Long-range sensors have picked up...
Yes, I know. The Borg. Set a course for Earth. Maximum warp.
So Star Trek First Contact came out in 1996. It is currently sitting at 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the summary goes, and the Enterprise and its crew follow a Borg ship through time warp to prevent the Borg from taking over Earth in a past era. Stuck in the past, Geordi LaForge helps the Pioneer space travel in his efforts to create first time warp drive, while Captain Picard and Commander Data battle the Borg Queen as she tries to take over the Enterprise. This one was directed by Jonathan Frakes, who did Star Trek Insurrection and Clockstoppers. It was written by Ronald D. Moore and Brannon Braga, who did Star Trek Generations and Mission Impossible 2. This released on November 22nd of 1996 in theaters on a budget of $45 million and made a box office of $146 million. This stars Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard, Jonathan Frakes as William T. Riker, Brent Spiner as Data, LeVar Burton as Geordi LaForge, Michael Down as Worf, Gates McFadden as Beverly Crusher, Marina Sirtis as Deanna Troi, Alfre Woodard as Lily Sloan, James Cromwell as Zephyr Cochrane, and Alice Kriege as the Borg Queen. Before we get into the movie a little bit, let's see how everybody's history with this movie was. So we'll start with Nabil. Your history was First Contact.
I've never seen First Contact, but I've seen First Contact, and I've seen that a few times actually. This film. So I've seen First Contact a few times. This film was the one that stood out the most for the Next Generation movies, with the Borg and the assimilation of Jean-Luc Picard, and from the TV series to being on this and the trauma. Like the whole story kind of came back to me watching this on. This is, again, and I know James is going to remember this, but this is another one that just like was on repeat on TNT all the time, especially the Borg ones. I don't know, maybe that just stuck out to me more as a kid, but I just vividly remember all these scenes that they were showing all the time, and I would catch it on TV.
Nice. Marco, what about you?
I echo a lot of what Nabil said, where I've seen this movie in theaters, and its connectivity to the TV show really made me appreciate it, and because of that, I would watch it a lot on repeat, both on TV and also when we bought the VHS too, back when we used tape. But yeah, I remember this plot line vividly as well too. This one and the previous movie, because it had the Generation crew. My brother and I would watch like nonstop.
Nice. James, how about you?
This is the only one that I've actually seen outside of the Kelvin Thailand movies, like multiple times. because when I was a kid, when this came out, we had the black box, and this one was really popular, and we saw it so many times. I had no concept of really what Star Trek was at the time, obviously, and when I was 7 or 8 years old when this came out, there's no way I understood the actual plot of what was going on. And I actually remember thinking, like, because I didn't know what the Borg were. They just came off as pretty scary when I was a kid, because I was like, ooh, why do they look weird, Yeah, but there was a lot of scenes in this movie that I really remembered really well, especially, I was telling you guys, like the spacewalk scene when they're on the space. I remember that whole sequence like vividly. So I was like, oh, this is the one where it's from. So it was a nice
homage to the first one.
Oh yeah, it was cool. So there was cool little parts of it, and I had rewatched it again probably 10, 15 years ago when I saw it last time. So it's been a long, long time since I've seen it. But this is the one that I've actually, out of all of them, I've seen a few times. So
nice. So for myself, I've seen it a couple times a long time ago, and I'm not sure why, but I never actually went back and watched most of the Picard movies. And I actually thought a lot of this movie, I got this one at Insurrection backwards. I thought they were reversed.
See, I told you I can't even recall Insurrection. My gosh.
So I thought this one was Insurrection for some reason, and then this, whatever. Anyways, but yeah, so I got it mixed up here. I've only seen it a few times. It's been a really long time actually watching it back here and seen the episodes, the TV episodes, actually after I've seen this movie. So it kind of made a lot more sense watching it this time than it did the time beforehand. So it's kind of put everything together. It's kind of nice.
It just blows my mind a little bit that as a kid, I always thought that the show was still going on because of the reruns they always did. I didn't realize that the show at this point had been off air for like 2 or 3 years. So the last thing before this was literally Generations, and then this movie. Right. So like, I don't know, things just changed.
Yeah, because I think it ended in 94, 95, around there, right when Generations came out. It
ended in 94, 6 months before Generations came out. So just kind of weird. That's all.
I mean, now they had time to make movies, so that makes sense.
Basically, yeah. I mean, the other shows were still going. Then wasn't there another show going on at the time?
Space Nine was still going. Yeah. Voyager was still going.
Okay, so there still was some Star Trek, but the Next Generation stuff, though, what I'm saying, was over. So people hadn't seen them in 2 years or so.
Right. Well, they played the reruns all the time. At least I remember.
Yeah, Next Generation was on everywhere. I'm saying like new content, content stuff. Yeah.
Well, let's get a little bit into the movie here. Let's see how everybody kind of just liked it. Just a brief review and what you felt about the movie. And we'll start with Marco.
I really enjoyed it this time around, which is weird because I seem to remember when I was young liking Generations better than First Contact. But I think now as I've aged and I watch different movies differently, I enjoy this one a lot better, especially because of its direct connectivity to the TV show with Picard being assimilated and him dealing with that trauma. They touch on it like briefly in the TV show, like every so often, but this one really kind of went a little bit more in depth to the point where they even mentioned that they don't even trust Picard 100% like they used to.
That's kind of weird, right? Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, a little bit, but it makes sense because they make the Borg every time they came on an episode or anything. They were like this huge like threat, man. They were like a major boss, and like just like in the movie, they assimilate fast. There's almost nothing that can defeat them. They're almost invincible. So to put them on the big screen and choose them for this movie and like deal with those repercussions and what people have been through with the Borg, I think was a smart move, and I think it moved this crew in the direction it should have been going, which is with these almost impossible situations.
James, you kind of jumped in a little bit there and kind of said some stuff here, but what do you feel on this film?
I really like this one. This is one of the rare, right? I really enjoyed it. I thought it had good pacing. I like the storyline, and I think the Borg aspect of it all, it finally gives them like an antagonist that's really strong and that can do these things that are insane. And they're trying to change the time. And I think especially coming from Generations that I thought had kind of a weaker bad guy overall, even though they were still trying to do kind of like a time thing with that. I felt like this one was just overall a better movie. I liked it. It's a darker film, especially. I thought it looked really good too. We'll jump more into that, but I thought the effects really held up pretty well for a movie that came out almost 30 years ago at this point. It just looked good. Even like this first scene of the ship coming down to the new Enterprise E, I was like, dude, this looks cool. So.
Agreed.
Yeah. Nabil, run us out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the standout thing for me in this film was Picard's arc here, because he's even in the show, he's always been like the golden boy of the Enterprise, more so than like Kirk was the gruffy one who didn't follow orders but was still always successful and willing to take risks. Where Picard, he didn't mind getting his hands dirty, but he followed the rules a lot of the time, and he was just the smartest man in the room. And so now we're seeing where there is some failure, some flaws, and then he kind of goes in throughout the film wanting to destroy the Borg, and you can see that he has something, he has a flaw that he's trying to address, and he feels like impassioned to kind of to resolve that, essentially. You know,
you guys said the show touched on that a few times, right? Like, I feel like that'd be a huge like plot point, though. Like throughout from that time being to the end, because he tells Sloane like I have like parts in me or something. I'm like, what the heck?
Well, I mean, the show was always serialized, though. Like, it wasn't that they didn't move forward, but they still was like, after they did the big episode, they got to go move on to the villain of the week.
They're gonna save dinosaurs this week or something. Like, oh,
right. No, they did just that one episode after where we meet his brother and his nephew that died in the previous movie, and he kind of like talks about like how there's still like parts of them in him, and he can still feel them. And they like Nabil says, they never touch on it again, though. Kind of briefly, ever like sporadically, but because
well,
because
they
got to go for the new weekly villain.
This one starts with a nightmare, which I thought was a really cool sequence too.
Yeah. So I think like the whole Picard act, great. I think the Cochrane act, which is fine. There wasn't anything wrong with it. It was just there for like the side thing and pause a lot of the momentum, and it was almost a comic relief with James Cromwell, which, you know, he was kind of that character a lot in the 90s anyways. But I feel that kind of slowed the pace.
He was very serious in Babe.
He was serious. You're right. I take that back.
What do you say?
Serious character there. And Babe 2, Pig in the City. So
yes, he was sick in that one though. So
yeah, he was. So like, I think that whole B storyline slowed things down quite a bit, and I forgot how much of that was in this movie. I remember it. It was more prevalent than I had remembered. I thought a lot more time was spent on the ship.
I liked it for some reason.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of corny every time they're just kind of telling him like his future endeavors. Like, you're going to have a statue here.
It was funny. Yeah.
Or Riker having it's like, yeah, you said that. And he's just creepily staring at him in the back seat. Yeah.
It's kind of cool that they touch on the whole, like, you know, never meet your heroes type thing, because he wasn't necessarily what everybody said he was and everything. They were just kind of putting these words in his mouth, and he was just like, no, I just wanted to get rich and drink all the time.
Retired to an island or something, right?
He's like, I didn't think it would bring about like, you know, world peace or anything like that, or transcend us into like a future society.
He's just trying to build a spaceship.
Yeah, well, I think the movie he's trying to make ends meet.
Yeah, I think he needs it anyways, because you know, someone mentioned, I don't remember who, but you know, it's really dark. Like the stuff on the Enterprise is pretty dark.
Yeah, it's
grim, right? And they kind of need that contrast to kind of balance it out. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I like the film as well.
That in itself, like Nabil said, that's its own plot, that they do blow up the cube, but in that process, because their shields are down, the whole like unit of Borg or whatever, I don't know how you call them, sorry, sneak onto the ship somehow and start changing things up, you know, like secretly. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah. And nobody knows, unless you're on the ship, nobody even knows what's going on down there. So
it's a big ship, right?
Yeah.
Massive. They actually tell how big it is, right?
It's like every floor is 700 meters.
Like, 700 meters, yeah.
It's huge, right? That's why somebody could theoretically, I don't know, what they call warp in and drive. I don't know. What is it? Transport in or something? I don't know what the word is.
They got past the detector somehow, they said. No one ever figures out how, though. But they're like, shh, let the movie happen.
Yeah, they always give the Borg these advantages. Like, even in the show, like they can catch up to you in warp speed. They can knock you out of warp speed. They like whatever they need for the episode, and in this case, the movie.
Is that really
the Borg can do that.
They can adapt the weapons after 2 shots. So
I like that when Worf, he's like, they've adapted.
they do take that from the TV show, which I like. That's true. But I think it was smart to, well, maybe not smart, but kind of slick to choose the Borg, because you can get away with stuff like that and be like, oh, well, they do that too.
Oh, so they're like making the lore as they went in the movie, like, everything we said is canon now. Don't worry.
Some of the stuff they take from the TV show, and some of the new stuff, like the Queen was brand new. Like, that was never mentioned in the show.
She's a brand new character. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're supposed to have like
okay.
a hive mind, and I guess she explains like where like the hive comes from. Get it? She's a queen.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I thought she was in the show.
Well, let's jump into the plot a little bit here. I'll kind of leave it open to everybody. We already kind of mentioned there's kind of two subplots going on. There's one on the Enterprise with the Borg. There's one on the ground with Cochrane and Sloan, or actually Sloan's up in the top here. But and I don't think we mentioned it here, but we are saying spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie, like James was saying, it's been 30 years. So we're going to be going over stuff. So just heads up. But how do you guys feel with the plot? Did you like where it was going? We kind of already talked a little bit about it, but does anybody have anything else to say about it?
Just kind of reeling it back to the whole Cochrane thing. I when I was a kid, I didn't really like that part either. I thought that kind of slowed the movie down too, and I wanted to see like more
he's got
Borg, more space stuff.
He's got a weird hat. What's this thing all about?
And a weird
Get your jingle jangles out of here.
And a weird taste in music. No, I'm just kidding. But I thought that like in hindsight now, like it is a big deal because it's kind of like the make or break moment for society, because it's 10 years after World War III. Like the entire world is like shattered and like there's like no hope.
Can I ask you guys a question about that? Are they're shocked to see stuff in the sky at that point too? It sounds like they don't even know what the planet looks like, right?
What do you mean?
Because they're kind of like amazed when they're like, "Whoa, it's the Earth," you know?
Oh, because they don't have like
they don't have that tech.
They don't have that
like
tech.
Right?
It's kind of like what we have right now, where we have astronauts that go into space and stuff like that.
I thought it was even like below that, like they had lost the space program or something because of World War III. Because it almost gave me that impression, like they were amazed to see like something flying up in the sky, like, oh, it's up there in space, you know?
Yeah, almost like that, or at least something like that advanced.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Because that rocket ship that they made out of a nuke is like the most advanced thing that they had at the time.
Exactly.
And, yeah. So that's kind of what bridges everyone together and gets the attention of First Contact,
the Vulcans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that they hinged it on the one event. I think it made it more impactful for what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool.
I like that they kind of did.
It's kind of cool. Like the first people that came in contact with them too were Vulcans.
Yeah.
How about this? Did you guys like, or how did you guys feel, I should say, about the original series people not being in this film? Did you miss them, or did you want them there? Did you think that the movie should have included them? Anything like that, or he at least touched on them at all?
Personally, no. I thought it was okay because the last two movies they handed it off, right? The torch, theoretical torch.
I guess. The last two movies.
And our boy Shatner got crushed by like a railing or something, right?
I think 6 did a great job. I think that would have been really like the best send off for them, like completing a mission like that. But after watching Generations and seeing what they do with Kirk in hindsight, I think it was good that they didn't go that route. I was like, no, we're just going to focus on the new people now.
The new people. I think it made it worthwhile on that.
Yeah.
Talking about the crew here, we'll kind of get into some of the characters. What do you guys think about Picard or Data? And I'll kind of leave it open to everybody.
Picard was cool in this one. He's kind of dealing with trauma again. The last one, he's dealing with like the death of his brother and his nephew. This one, he's having nightmares. Like I said, it's a really cool. The nightmare sequences he has like little flashbacks to or dreams of. I thought they were really well done. I love when he just goes off on Worf too. Just calls him a coward.
And Worf was just like, I'd kill you if I could.
Yeah. That's like the worst insult you could tell a Klingon is calling him a coward. Dude.
Yeah.
It's like calling them a slur.
Worf is like, we gotta get out. We can just blow the ship up. And he's like, where they don't grow on trees.
But it's weird. I watched an episode not so long ago of TNG where like Picard is like he's like tortured like for 2 episodes freaking straight. And it made me kind of like think like that. No, I think that's why they focus like on his trauma for like these 2 movies. Cause this dude, a lot of people don't know this, but unless you watch the show, he did deal with a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like there's an episode where he lives an entire lifetime, dude, a completely different life, like lives for like 100 or 200 years.
Yeah.
And then comes back to like his normal life. And like, he has all those memories and experiences still. So I think it was kind of, in a way, it is
family.
it is kind of cool that they like address some of those things in the movie, and like this is going to be like the driving force or factor of the movie.
And then for Data's Data's kind of stuck in one room the entire movie, by the way. Honestly,
Basically,
and like
yeah.
the Borg Queen's showing him like what we could give you, Data, if you only let us. And he's getting skin. He can, he's on a quest for feelings. I don't know if that was always his thing in this show, but the last two movies, kind of that motion chip again, right?
Yeah, that chip came in the last movie. That wasn't actually in the series that I can recall. And so they just kind of carry that on, which we don't. I know we're not going to really talk about it here, but they don't touch on Geordi and his visor, but they definitely talk about Data and his emotion chip. They bring that back, so they do have some continuity there to try to make sure that, hey, remember we put that thing? It was a whole plot point. It's still in this movie.
It's the first time Data had to deal with like true temptation, human temptation. Because she was offering something that no one else could, like to really truly feel like a true human. And the previous movie was just dealing with emotions for the first time ever, like kind of like going through changes as an adolescent, and now here like dealing with adult problems like the temptation of doing the right thing or doing something that only benefits you, type of thing.
She's like, "What if we turn you into Brent Spiner?" I was like, "No." Half your face and arm. So
I kind of like the interactions between him and the Borg Queen, though. It was really like him experiencing some of the emotions for the first time. And
it's cool though that he's basically, he's super awkward, but he's basically playing her though the whole time.
Yeah, it was good.
I was like, oh, nice. Okay.
He was with her for 0.68 seconds.
He did. Yeah.
Oh man.
What about some of the new characters here? You guys have anything for Sloan or Cochran or anybody else that we haven't talked about
yet? I
yet?
didn't realize that lady Alfred Woodard is Sloan.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, I think they call her Lily, right? She says, "Hey, I'm Lily."
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying I didn't know that actress had been in movies until I only know her recently just because she's been in a lot of like video games. Randomly, she's in the Jedi Fallen Order and all this stuff. So that's why I was like, wait a minute, I know who this person is. I was like, she was in movies back in '96. I've been watching her since then. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So I thought she was cool. She's the fish out of water character. They always tend to have these kind of characters in these movies where it's like, I don't know anything about. She's like me, basically. Like, what if I got like, what do you mean? Like, oh, this is crazy, there's no windows? Yeah. Oh, because it's a field or something? Okay. I'd be like, I just wanted to know. I'm curious too. So. But it doesn't have context for people that have not seen the show, is what I'm saying. So,
yeah, and she's the voice of the audience too for those who like don't know or don't really know like Picard. She calls him out on things that most of his other crew wouldn't, and you're like,
which is also even like things that you would think are really pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, no, when he makes his mind up, that's it. And she's like,
And she's like, hold on a second.
Yeah, let me talk to this.
She's like, I just survived nukes for 10 years ago. Hold on a second here.
Yeah,
I think we could have gotten more out of the characters. I think it's funny how the crew seems to all the things that they've done in the past, and they have these people that are from the past, and they talk about the Prime Directive and how they just let them know all of history suddenly that's related to them, and it's like I thought too more
they jump into that pretty like if we don't tell them it's going to take too long, they're never going to believe us. Let's just tell them. I'm like, wait, isn't that going to mess that up?
Yeah. Never addressed again afterwards. Like, it's fine. He can handle it.
No, the fact that they keep telling him more and more, I'm like, you guys could still help and just like not mention all this other stuff.
Yeah,
that like he's gonna do in the future and like the statue and scare him. Right? I'm like,
they're also seeing their hero for the first time, right? Like in the flesh.
True. The one guy's like,
they've been reading about this guy for the whole life, right?
Hand? Yeah. Even Picard's like, I just want to touch the ship. He's like, I always saw it, but I never could touch it. And then that's when he explains to Data like the feeling of connection and memories and stuff like that. He's like, it's a good feeling.
He said, Data, you're gonna have your chance soon.
Probably my only gripe with the movie is how like in the show they were really, really reluctant to not break the Prime Directive, which is like any society that doesn't have.
That's what I'm saying. It was such a big deal.
Yeah. So whereas in this one,
thrown away.
Yeah, I agree. That is one of my main gripes. Like they just completely go with it. Like, you know what? Whatever, we're gonna do it. I kind of get it though, because it's the Borg and they're a super tough enemy, and your back's up against the wall. But still, I feel
they don't know. The people on the ground don't know about the Borg. Is what I'm saying. So it doesn't make any sense.
I think it's because they're so desperate though, too, because they're like, we have to do this because if not, our future might not be there when we go back, right?
Yeah,
or I don't know how they do time travel. Actually, guys, I'm just guessing.
I mean, they just copied whatever the Borg did. Is you heard him? He's like, just follow the same frequency or whatever they did, and they're just like, okay, and they travel back into the future. It's like, wow. And if it was the original Star Trek, it would have been a whole production to try to figure this out.
Right.
Well, what do you guys think about the look of the film? How was the CGI? How about the action too? What do you guys think?
It looked good.
I think it looked great for, like you were saying, James, how old this film is. It looks really good. This is probably
the best looking one so far. Out of the Star Trek films we've seen, guys.
Even with the effects too, the CGI specifically, I don't know if they did like a remaster or something, but it looks good.
Did they clean it up for the 4K? Because it looks pretty good, man.
Yeah, I agree.
It looks a little cleaned up, but I agree. It looks clean as heck. That opening battle scene.
ILM helped out
great.
though, right? Industrial Light and Magic, I believe, helped them out with this, and they were doing the Star Wars movies. They were redoing them at this point, so because, like you said, Marco, that beginning battle looks like really good.
Yeah.
When you see all the ships like surrounding that big old cube, and they're just shooting at it too, and I was like, this looks great, dude.
I like how they have lasers and missiles too. I don't know why that kind of excites me, but it's nice.
It kind of makes up for that the episode with Picard being turned into a Borg, because they are gonna go to this big battle and they never show it. They only show the aftermath.
And they did one of those. Sorry, we didn't have the budget.
This kind of makes up for it, and you see like the Borg just like obliterating all these ships and stuff. Well, they kind of, if you watch the intro to Deep Space Nine, if you watch those Picard episodes and the intro to Deep Space Nine, they connect because they show part of that battle, and you see what Picard does, and it's pretty messed up.
Any other thoughts before we get to our rating?
Fun movie, man. Good mix of action. I really like that spacewalk scene too, man. Still don't quite understand what they were doing up there, but I like that the one guy. That's why I was asking. Like, he becomes assimilated like instantly. I was like, how?
In space,
did it get into his suit? Because then I like the shot of like his face is normal, then he turns, and then you see that his other half is like different. And I'm like, that was really quick. So
yeah, they can assimilate you within like seconds or minutes, because their technology is always like advancing. Because
I thought the drones were cool because like they don't actually go after you unless they deem you a threat. So you could theoretically just start walking by them, which is kind of weird too. But I like that whole aspect of it all. Like, it's like, oh no, it's not. They only started looking at it when they started messing around with the settings of the stuff. Like, hey, stop.
Right, but that's the thing. Once they hone in on you, all of them come after you. So that's the thing. It's like pick and choose.
But it was cool though. I liked it. So
all right, well, let's do our ratings. And would you recommend the movie? Now we'll start with Nabil.
I gave this film 3.5 stars out of 5. I think it was good. There's a lot of plot holes that watching it as an adult I've seen. So it's like it's fine though. For the Star Trek stuff, it's pretty entertaining, and I love what they did with Picard. So it's a great story for him.
Thank you, James.
I gave this one 4 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I like the darker tone of it all. I thought it was really well paced, and this is probably one of the better Star Trek films, at least for the Next Generation films that I've seen so far.
Marco?
Well, I give Star Trek First Contract 1 star, and then First Contact I give 4 stars also, because I'm a huge fan of Star Trek, and I really enjoyed this movie, especially watching it now. I actually ended up watching it with my son, and he really enjoyed this one too. So, yeah, 4 stars.
Nice. I gave this one 4 stars, and First Contract got 5 stars. So, no, but I really like the story in this one. I love the Borg, and I like the direction they took them in this one too. It's just an overall pretty fun movie. I liked it a lot, so definitely recommend.
Awesome, thank you, Mikey. Let's move on now to our review of Captain America: Brave New World.
What do we know?
There were 5 shooters. This was a coordinated terrorist attack, sir.
I was a wartime general. Now I'm a wartime president.
Your inner circle's been compromised. Let me fix it.
Watch yourself. You're not Steve Rogers. You're right. I'm not. Wait for it.
Captain America, Brave New World. Currently sitting at a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. The synopsis goes, Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, finds himself in the middle of an international incident and must discover the motive behind a nefarious global plan. This film was directed by Julius Ona, who did Cloverfield the Paradox and Loose. This was written by Rob Edwards, who had done Treasure Planet and The Princess and the Frog, as well as Malcolm Spellman, who did Our Family Wedding and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, and Delon Musan, who also wrote Iron Sky and The Coming Race, and, of course, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This film was released in theaters February 14th of this year and has a budget of $180 million with a current box office of $192.4 million, and it is expected to be the biggest President's Day weekend opening ever. This film stars Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, aka Captain America, Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres, or the Falcon, Shira Haas as Ruth Bat Seraph, Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, Zosha Rockmore as Layla Taylor, Giancarlo Esposito plays Seth Volker, also known as Sidewinder, and Tim Blake Nelson's in the film as Samuel Stearns, or the leader, and Harrison Ford makes his debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Thaddeus Ross, also known as Red Hulk. So, let's talk about what we thought about this film, and I'm going to go to James to get his thoughts on a Marvel film, since he's been burned out of them for quite some time, and see what you think about this one.
I like Deadpool Wolverine.
That's not the same, and you know that.
Those are my top 10, man. Check
Not the
last
same.
episode. Or the episode before, actually. No, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm combining them too much now.
A month goes
It was
by
okay.
and,
It was all right. It was okay.
It was all right.
It wasn't terrible. I don't think it's the third worst Marvel film. There are moments of it that I actually enjoyed. We'll get into that, but it was pretty kind of middle of the road for me.
Okay. Let's go to you, Marco. What did you think about this movie?
I thought this movie was freaking terrible.
Okay. How about you, Mikey? How did you feel?
I kind of think I'm with James on this one. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was really good either. There was some stuff that was kind of cool about it, and there's other stuff that was not as good, I guess. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fun, right? I didn't have any problems with it that were like overwhelming. So just an okay movie. It was not bad, not good.
Yeah, I'm with you there. There was definitely some great parts, but there were some issues that we're going to talk about next on the plot itself, and I feel like it wasn't as strong as I was hoping it would be as far as where we're trying to go here, hopefully eventually with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's talk a little bit about the plot. I'm going to go to you, Mikey, first, since you kind of touched on it. What was some of your hang-ups there, or what did you kind of think about the story as presented in this film?
Well, I think going into it, even before I watched it, I had a problem with Mackie taking over as Captain America. And it's not really because of he's a different Captain America, right? He's not a super soldier, right? So he doesn't have powers. He's just a normal human being. Yeah. And then on top of that, he doesn't even fight like Captain America fought, like the one we're used to in the movie, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So he's like flying around with wings, and that's just not the Cap that Captain I know, right?
What did I say?
Right, yeah. So it's like that's part of it is. But that being said, the movie does kind of handle that in there, and it kind of doesn't really flow very well, in my opinion. It's almost got two sections where like he's got a bad guy. The bad guy's not super strong, in my opinion. He kind of figures it out, and he's trying to like be buddy with the Captain America, right? I don't know. There's just something that didn't work. Red Hulk, he comes in obviously, and it's just he's not used that well, and it's just I
almost feel like they shouldn't have like shown it, especially with how it's revealed. The Red Hulk, but let's face it, what were they gonna do? They're gonna put the leader as a popcorn bucket, right? They're like, you guys remember Tim Blake Nelson?
It was only a few films ago. Maybe a few more than you remember.
17 years ago, he was in a movie. Guess what? He's back.
Well, it's weird. It's almost like a Hulk sequel without having the Hulk in it.
It's a deep callback for a film that came out, what is it? How long has it been? 16 years? 17 years? 17 years? Yeah.
Years.
Like it's
We've been playing this song and dance for a while.
Yeah. Going to you then, James. Yeah, let's elaborate a bit more on what your thoughts were on the plot.
It's kind of a mismatch, man. It's very similar to Captain America and Winter Soldier, just not done as well. It is a continuation of the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show, which honestly I forgot a lot about it because it came out 4 years ago. There's a lot of things that I, with Isaiah Bradley especially, I kind of totally forgot about that whole subplot, even though I've been seeing a trailer for over a year at this point. I didn't even realize that guy.
What are we doing?
I was talking to my friend Dominic, and I was like, yeah, is that guy in the thing? He's like, he's in the show, and I was like, no way.
He's like in 3 episodes. Yeah.
So I don't know. It was. I thought like the chemistry between even like Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres just wasn't the greatest. He came off as really annoying, honestly. The new Falcon. I didn't mind Anthony Mackie taking over Captain America. Not as much, apparently, from Mikey here. Mikey had a little issue with it, I guess, but I didn't mind him taking over the role. It's just one of those things where I don't know if he's a leading man quality. I still don't think I think he's led better in other TV shows or even movies in particular. But that's just a process of bad writing, I think, honestly. So I like the message of he inspires people to be more than they are, which I actually really liked because he doesn't have that super serum in it. So, like I said, though, we were watching it. And I was like, he does tend to get like beat up quite a bit in this movie.
Yeah,
like an overabundance of just getting jumped, kind of.
I think that on that, the plot feels like 2 separate films, because at the beginning I think they do a good job of showing him not being superhuman and what he's going through as a person. I mean, he's got broken ribs, he's trying to fight guys that are way tougher than he is, he struggles with a big dude in the early part of the film, where if you had Steve Rogers in there, it would have been nothing. So I think they do try to address it. And then we go into the second half and it gets a bit fantastical to the extent of like, you were showing him grounded and now he's like knocking out missiles with, a shield. Like it's not the same at all on the chest.
God, relax.
I guess. Yeah. I feel like it's a bit much with that. So I do see where you guys are coming from with some of the plot, but I think it is because there's definitely, there were 2 directions they were going. They started to lean one way, and then they just went kind of in the middle afterwards. And like, you know what? This is as far as we want to go.
I mean, it had like something like 4 different reshoots too, right?
Yeah, so, there's some scenes that were added in there that don't make any sense. They were good, but doesn't fit with the plot. I was like, okay, here's a reshoot.
Very apparent that they
it's like, hey, his hair looks different in the scene now, Mikey.
Yeah,
just want to let you know.
Going to you too, Marco. So you said you didn't like the film. So what was the thing that really stuck out to you that made you feel that way in the plot?
This movie had nothing to say, man. I heard a lot of comparisons to The Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier had a lot to say, man, and this movie took half measures, whereas The Winter Soldier took full measures. Like Steve Rogers and Black Widow and Falcon at the time completely dismantled SHIELD and took it down, and there were no compromises. They were like, no, this bad, it needs to go down. And I feel like this movie does the complete opposite of that. And it's like, well, let's try to like work it out and stuff. And it's like, no, dude, if it's freaking bad, like Captain America wouldn't have stood for it. He would have been like, no, you're going down, dude. He even went toe to toe with his best friend when he disagreed with him. Like, it was like, no, dude.
Yeah.
He tries to compromise with Ross, and I get it, but it's just like, dude, this the guy that arrested y'all. This the guy that wanted to freaking that was Ross 100% knew that SHIELD was infiltrated by Hydra and was okay with Hydra like freaking killing millions of people and stuff like that. And it's like, you gonna work with this guy anyway? Though Harrison Ford played it really well. I had no problem with Anthony Mackie playing Captain America. I do agree with James that he did it way better in the TV show. I think so Falcon and the Winter Soldier was actually stronger than this movie. Even that movie kind of pulled its punches a little bit too. That TV show, I mean. But This
They even changed that one a bit. I remember.
Yeah. I like that he is human. I like that he doesn't have the super soldier serum, and that the stakes are a lot bigger for him, and he has to rely on the tech, on the Wakandan tech, and also on the shield a lot more, and as well as his wits. But really, like, that was my main gripe with this movie, is just a lot of half measures, a lot of compromises that I'm just like, dude, Captain America wouldn't make that compromise, dude. I'm sorry. And the fact that I think he was willing to work, within, like, I don't they didn't really make it clear if he was working within the Sokovia Accords or not. They're like, oh, we'll find a workaround. It's like that was the whole point of, like, the Avengers being completely, like, independent and stuff, and away from that, because they would have a clearer vision of, like, well, who's really benefiting people and who's not benefiting people, type of thing. And it completely dilutes that. Like, we had a whole, like, story arc on that with the whole Cap versus Iron Man thing, and I feel like completely dilutes that whole thing. And I'm just like, all right, man, quit with the kumbaya stuff, dude. All right, at some points you gotta pick and choose, man. All right, like, you're pulling your punches, and it's not really selling it for me. So
well, I
Falcon
think
was annoying too.
I think that with
he talked so much, man.
Going into Sam Wilson and being Captain America, like, I think if you had watched the show, you would feel like, okay, I guess I know how we're getting here. But they're trying to cram in a bunch of, like, at the beginning, especially, like, exposition of, like, how did this really come out to be him being Captain America? And it's like, well, Steve Rogers picked him. And so it doesn't sound like a really strong reason for him to be in this place, whereas, obviously the original story of Steve Rogers becoming Captain America is obviously more organic. That part of it, he has to try to prove himself, and they, like I said, this is why I feel like the story is a bit different in the first half versus going to the second half, because they start talking a little bit about him being a black man and trying to represent this, and, like, it's a big stark contrast of a black man wearing stars and stripes on his chest, and representing America, and him going to, like you were saying, Marco, going to Thaddeus Ross and with the president and being asked to help in the way that he's being asked to, and he just kind of accepts it after everything he went through, and seeing Steve Rogers being willing to separate himself from the government and being his own entity, and that doesn't happen here. I think that is a big departure from what we were doing in the television series, where Winter Soldier and Falcon went their own way trying to solve this. Like, you would have thought that he would have learned already that he has to kind of work outside the bounds, and then here he's like, no, we need to give this all a chance.
It's like he gives them that, like, I want to make the Avengers again. He's like, okay,
right, right, dude, right.
But then immediately after the attack, he's like, never mind, off the table. I'm like, why would you keep helping this guy? Like, all right, dude, let's get out of there, dude. You're doing your own thing now, dude.
They're in a way, they're treating him, I hate to say it, they're treating him second class in a way where, like, they dangle something like a
100% agree.
Falling for it.
That feeling of, like, what if we gave you this reward, right? That's kind of shiny and cool, right?
Yeah.
Also, can you find out what Vision is? Because he's just flying around and it's getting a little crazy.
Seriously. But
you know who the Spider-Man is?
Right? They clued that when he said, like, I'm gonna do this the hard way type thing, that he was gonna, all right, because I'm gonna work outside the system, and that would kind of keep it close to Winter Soldier and all, but he doesn't. I'm like, oh, okay, what a waste.
I've been reading this. I've been reading the Sam Wilson Captain America trade paperback right now. It's where, like, a lot of this movie took inspiration from. The comic books is done way better, by the way, but it's very similar how, like, he has to do things that they don't want him to do. No, it's just done, like, they just, like you said, Marco, it's just, they're tingling something in front of him, then they just blow him off, and then he's like, and then go ahead and take your friend and figure it out, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also help us still at the end, because whatever.
You can tell at the end, he's got a lot of information, though, right? So I think he does go off on his own. He's not really following Ross, and then he finds out a lot more information that forces him to go back to Ross. So I don't think he's really on Ross's side most of the time.
To that point, though, Iggy, he does that, but then he's also still trying to save Ross. Like, I understand that the point is that Sam Wilson believes that everybody's redeemable and they need a second chance, and he's just more compassionate in that way. But to what Marco and James are saying, he's been burned so many times. You would just think, I'm not saying he needs to go and like beat up the guy, but it's like, nah, you're a bad person. I'm sorry. We're gonna like have to leave you alone.
Because,
I
know. I mean, it's because he's like, I want to change, and he's like, for my daughter, blah blah. But it's so thrown in. But is it also just because it's also Harrison Ford portraying him? Maybe that's why I'm a little more lighter on it. I'm like,
that's kind of where I want to
compared to fairness to to what's his name,
William
Hurt. Sorry, William Hurt. Unfortunately, he passed away. So rest in peace, William Hurt. He played the character a couple times, but. Honestly, I thought Harrison Ford kind of killed it in this role. He was a scene stealer every time he was on. I think it's just crazy that he's in a Marvel film too. I just really like Harrison Ford, as you guys know. So a little bit of me was a little bit softer on just his portrayal overall, but there's a lot of problems. You can tell this was written by multiple people with several reshoots and so on.
Well, jumping into Thaddeus Ross then, just to talk about that, and I guess a little bit of a spoiler. I mean, he's not like the biggest. He's not the biggest villain in this film, in the same way. Especially considering everything that Ross did in the past. Like he's not. He's more of, I don't know, not an anti-hero. He's just not the bad guy, but he's also not the good guy in this film. And I think to what you're saying, James, maybe because it's Harrison Ford, he's kind of just
so he doesn't have a mustache anymore. It's like, oh, he's friendly now. Okay.
Well, he can't be. He can't have a mustache as president.
I like the little flashback sequence they show him with it. I'm like, ooh, he looks terrible.
Yeah.
So Mikey,
so bad. Not a good look. Not a good look.
I want to get your thoughts on Harrison Ford's portrayal of Thaddeus Ross in comparison to William Hurt, of course, but also just how he ended up having a six-pack in this film as Red Hulk.
I mean, he's Harrison Ford. Of course, he has a six-pack.
He's pretty fit still, by the way.
Yeah,
Bill.
No, but I agree with that. I think Harrison Ford killed it. He really does still a lot of scenes that he's in, and I actually think that as the movie progresses, he gets more and more angry, which makes sense. Considering he turns into Red Hulk. So I think they did a good job with his character, and Harrison killed it.
Would have been a great reveal if they didn't put in the spoiler in the trailer. But yeah,
he doesn't have good judgment. Wilson, he kept calling him Lando the whole movie. I was like, I don't think he's in the right movie.
Give him my ship back.
Yeah.
Ross doesn't have good judgment, whether he's an anti-hero or not. His judgment, like,
dude, it's bad. But why is he in the wait? That's a spoiler. Never mind.
Yeah, he has the worst judgment, and then he acts on it as soon as things go wrong. He can't be trusted for his own good. He may not be ill-intentioned, but he still has like the worst judgment, and I'm like, oh,
I mean, he kept the guy locked up for 17 years too. And
okay, so what about we had another character here on top of everything else. We still have a new Falcon in this film. Joaquin Torres is being played by Danny Ramirez, and I'd like to hear Marco's take. What are your thoughts on him, Marco?
Marco Jr. there, yeah. Well, got him.
Well, for one, he won't take off his locks. His lokes. He has them on the whole time.
I noticed he had knee-high socks on, even in the Falcon suit. I said, weird.
I don't know why he had to wear cut-off dicky shorts. I really with
the scenes. The guy explained that he had more mobility that way. It made no sense. He only had one button on too on the top.
With the white Cortezes too.
Pure white, yeah, pure white, of course. No red or blue on that one, baby.
He kept doing this wide stance too. I'm just like, why is he standing like that?
That's how he gets the wings out,
before he launches.
Why do he always have he always had one cigarette behind his bandana too? It was weird.
Oh, dude. I don't know why he had to have a tall boy in one hand at all times.
Always half drank too, no matter at any given time. Like,
he always said, "No, man, I'm sober. It's okay."
It's okay. He said, "I can drive. I can drive."
I don't know why he had a mini chain steering wheel on the back of his car.
Jeez.
No,
just Santana playing the whole time too. It was weird.
He came in blasting Black Magic Woman on the freaking JBL.
The JBL. He's like, man, you'll know when I'm coming, man. I said, okay, buddy, relax.
See, he said nobody saw it. See, no, but he tried his best, but he was pretty annoying.
He was in the show, right?
Yeah,
he was. Yeah,
he was.
A little bit.
Yeah,
he was in the show.
He was given the wings in the show. Yeah,
he gave him the wings in the show.
I believe, or at least they dubbed him the Falcon. Like, yeah, we already knew he was Falcon.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either. That's crazy.
Oh wow, I gotta rewatch some of these shows, man.
At the same, he was really there just to propel Anthony Mackie's character for a certain scene, and
all right.
I guess, better they use this guy than someone else, I guess. Or actually, no, they could have used someone else. But he really didn't add a lot, I guess. Like maybe someone for this Captain America to mentor, I guess, and have growth.
Comic relief, too.
I mean,
it was
feels like he was supposed to be. Yeah, it feels like he was supposed to be younger.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he's doing stuff. I'm like, dude, you're like the same age as me, dude. Relax.
Yeah, we're young. So it's fine.
The jokes in comedy felt forced, whereas the levity in Winter Soldier, even though it was like a dark tone and serious tone, it did have levity as well, but it felt more natural and more infused within the plot and the storyline than this. This just felt like, oh, we gotta add some jokes, we gotta add some levity to this, so do something funny or stupid or silly, and it's just like, all right, dude, relax.
Do you think that it was worth him being in here to take on the Falcon mantle off of, I guess, Anthony Mackie's character?
I think they could have done better. It's not the actor's fault, but I think they could have written the character better.
Maybe he'll be better in future ones, because I'm assuming when they make the D Squad Avengers.
Yeah.
Also, like, you would think they'd have like a contrasting character, right? Not the same character as the other person that also has wings. You don't need a second Falcon. Yeah, you already have one in Captain America form.
It's in the comics, Mikey. Relax.
Also, Mikey,
I know. I'm saying,
how are they gonna fly if they don't have both of them with wings? They need to go in the air.
No, but they could have just used another person that would have been just fine.
They don't want.
Still in the same
flying
role.
with a lowrider bike. It doesn't work. Okay, Mikey. He's already told you twice. It's not gonna. He's like, it's not taking off, man. So,
I think that they need to do him better. The suit also needs to improve.
The suit looks terrible, but actually, it somewhat comic accurate. That's the reason why. But I'm like, ugh. I didn't like it either.
Just shut up a bit. You can just shut up a bit for the
yeah, like painted. The green throws it off, in my opinion.
It looks too army, too camo and not.
I think it's the standard suit that
for the Stark suit, right?
from the Falcon program. I think it's like it's the base suit. Like whereas Falcon customized his, like this guy for all the talk. It's like, dude, you didn't even customize it yet. You didn't even put like a rosary on it or anything.
Santa Maria on the side, man, with the prayer bees, man. No, it's weird that it like also it's not too much a spoiler, like the fact that he's not like super trained kind of irritated me too, that he's still asking like tips. I'm like, Sam, why are you holding back telling him how to do this stuff properly?
All right, you're gonna get him killed. Let's be real.
It was weird.
He's out there with you.
Yeah, without spoiling it, I'm just saying it's just strange that he's like, how do you do the kick thing? I'm like, dude, just show him.
Right.
Like, what are you holding back from? He's like, I'm trying to keep my job.
I do want to bring up a character that was, as I understand it, a late addition to this movie. Sidewinder, Giancarlo Esposito's character. I don't know about y'all, but he was my favorite thing in this movie, and I feel like we should have seen more of him. I mean, it was kind of like he disappeared.
They're like the Servant Society. They did not do a good job. At
no, they didn't. No, but I think underutilized. He was definitely the bigger foe against Sam Wilson. And Sam Wilson fights the Hulk, so that's saying a lot. And I was like, this guy is something. And I was like, I want to see more of this. And I thought this is where this film was going. Again, going to speak about how he's just normal person with tech and is not a super soldier, and like he's fighting a guy who's skilled, also not a super soldier but can essentially kick his butt, and it kind of falls away after about 30 minutes or an hour into the film. He's just kind of gone. So I just want to get you guys to, because I really enjoyed the scenes when Sidewinder showed up. I'll go to you, James, because you don't seem to agree. What you thought about Sidewinder's presence in the film?
He's not in the movie that long, so he's part of the last rounds of reshoots. Obviously, you can tell like it's really tacked on because they switched a lot of stuff up. But I don't know. He was talking about how he was in the gym like 6 or 7 days a week. I'm like for 7 minutes of screen time, dude. I'm like, what are you talking about, Giancarlo?
Well,
So
we don't know
don't get me wrong. Great actor. Just I think miscast for this role. He would have probably done better. I mean, there was rumors he might even be like Magneto or Professor X at one point. I'm like, man, he's Sidewinder. Like, really? Yeah. That's the character.
And I don't know why he keeps asking for Walter White the whole time. Where's Walter White?
I would have loved if he had his classic like costume too. By the way, it looks ridiculous. It's like a snake.
Yeah, he's a snake. Well, it's part of Serpent Society.
I'm a snake. Look at me. I'm a snake.
Didn't they cut 2 other Serpent Society people too? They cut him out of the movie. Like they filmed him and cut him, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. There's a bunch of them. There's a whole group of people that have snake like characteristics to themselves. So I don't know. But yeah, I don't. He was cool in the bill, but I wouldn't say he's the best part. He's just kind of there.
I think if they progressed him a little bit further, I think he could have been a cool bad guy for the movie.
I think they're hinting that this is not the last time we're going to see him, though.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up in Thunderbolts or something.
He told me that when he looked at the camera and winked.
He said, "When I escape," and then he just
next time, gadget.
Then he had his snake thing on. He's like,
then we're gonna wait another 10 years before we get back to him,
or maybe better than 17, I guess.
Speaking of which, how many of you guys remember the Incredible Hulk and Leader being in this film?
I do.
Marco. All right, so
I like Incredible Hulk.
Me too. Yeah.
I mean, it was ages ago though to pull this character. Here. I mean, they make it.
I mean, I saw it when I was 19. So, like, think about that, right? I saw that movie when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing the sequel. I'm 36 now, guys.
Marco was 4. Like, this is the youngest he's ever been seeing a film. So I don't even know how.
I remember because Marco's like, "Daddy, tell me why the Incredible Hulk different now."
Why is he recasted 3 times? No.
Yeah, which one is he? Is he the Australian guy or the man that gets angry on set?
Or is he the Latino looking guy?
Yeah, I don't want to cross that line, but Italian maybe? Maybe.
Yeah, so Marco, what do you think about Leader's motive in this film? I know we
don't even call him Leader in here, do they, by the way? They just keep calling him Samuel Stearns.
No, Sam Stearns is what he's called in here in the film. But
yeah.
That's who he is, yeah.
I mean, Hulk's son was revealed before this guy, so
oh yeah,
yeah, that's
true.
True.
If you would have told me that, if you would have told me,
well, he's turning into the guy at the end of the Incredible Hulk. Remember?
Yeah, no, yeah. But if you would have told me we're gonna get back to this guy years later, but first Hulk's son is gonna get revealed, I would have looked at you like you're insane, Especially if you told me he was going to be revealed at a barbecue, but hey, stranger things have happened. I'd be like, all right, someone, James, you need to put that away and stop taking that.
I apologize that I'm the one that apparently also did the makeup on the Leader too. It's my first time.
Yeah.
I thought it was CG at first, and then I was like, oh, I think he
chose practical.
Yeah, I was like, that's not.
Tim Blake Nelson wanted practical effects. I don't know why.
Yeah,
they couldn't have done a better job.
I'm just saying, it's a
multi-million-dollar movie, and couldn't have done a better job.
I mean, that's why he's in the shadows most of the time.
I thought it was cool.
Better in the shadow scenes, honestly.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I thought he was really cool in the shadow scenes. He's better when he speaks and is not really seen because he's very menacing. His whole thing is like he's super
good way
smart and everything.
Presenting it, yeah.
But I think this is also the problem where there were just too many too many characters for this movie for a simple plot that this movie had. Like it had more characters than Winter Soldier did.
You think they're just trying to set up more movies? That's why.
Which is dumb. And they really should have just focused on either the Serpent Society or this guy or the leader. Just keep the leader or have the Serpent Society sort of working for him or whatever. Like, didn't need to include the Red Hulk. That was why. Like, if we're trying to be like more grounded, why'd you include that?
Yeah,
it just feels like toys. For a minute, I almost forgot that the leader was in it because he disappears for part of the freaking movie, and then he comes back. And I'm like, oh snap! Oh, he's okay. He's still here.
Pretty late too, I would say.
Oh yeah, like really in the middle of the film.
And then he still disappears and comes back.
Were it not for the fact that I knew he was in this movie, I would have not already guessed. Like, oh, I know what's going on. So the leader's setting all this up, and I was right. Very predictable, but I think he could have been handled better, truthfully. The leader could have definitely been, especially after this long hiatus, it's like, that's it? I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Fairly bigger Marvel villain, too, that's why. Like, usually the leader is like the
he's a mastermind behind a lot of things.
The Hulk's main bad dude is normally the leader, so.
Right.
But now they can't do Hulk movies, so it's the next best thing, I guess.
Because he had a child. I don't know. Yeah.
Or Hulk's son, Scar, will fight him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's my son, Scar.
Yeah, we also have a character who is in the film, but I'm not really sure why. Yeah, so we have Shira Haas playing as Ruth Bat Seraph, and she's there as a bodyguard for Ross, I guess. She's investigating some stuff that's happening in the film. But, I mean, I feel like we find out that she's...
at all, dude.
Yeah, she's just kind of there. Yeah,
she's like a Black Widow. She has the weirdest body type I've ever seen in my life.
Because
every
she's a
time
goblin.
she was on screen, it scared me. I kept forgetting, and then I'd be like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Oh god, I forgot she was here again."
Honestly, just give Sam's friend that role.
Seriously,
right?
Yeah. Was she in the show too? Right? Was she in the show too?
I don't remember if she was.
Was she in the show?
No. Oh, the friend? I think so. I think the friend was towards the end.
Oh, dang. I forgot. I think she maybe was. I felt like we were supposed to know her already because they're like, oh, I got someone inside. I'm like, ooh. Dude, I don't remember the show at all, man.
I remember.
I asked my friend to recap it for me. I was like, yo, tell me, like, because he just finished it. I was like, yo, tell me everything that happened so I know. And he brought up stuff, and I was like, that happened in the show?
Yeah. Which the bad guys were really kind of good guys, just going through a different perspective, I guess. I was like,
I forgot U.S. Agent was in that show. I was like,
yeah, that's his debut there.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he's been in, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where he came from.
Yeah, so Seraph makes no sense in this film, to be honest, and I don't think should had any place in it. With all the, like you were saying, James, with all the characters in this film.
There's too many people, dude. There's like 17 people.
Yeah.
And then
it just shows why Ross has poor judgment too.
You're right. I mean,
why would they ever trust anybody from the Black Widow program on top of that too, when they already have knowledge that all of them have been like brainwashed on top of that? Yeah. Dude, once again, you can tell there's like 19 writers for this thing, probably, really, because we wrote down 3, but honestly, there was like 5 or 6, and I was like, I'm just gonna put none of these 3. I don't know who the other thing, so.
Let's talk a little bit about the film itself, just the production quality. I want to say, so we have some CG obviously in this film, but I really liked how the Hulk looked. I think that was some pretty good graphics for how the Red Hulk turned out on screen compared to some of the last films, especially and the TV shows that we were watching.
Yeah. I think that's where the money went.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It looks good. His transformation. It's just that they use a lot of green screen in this one, man. For scenes that are like blatantly outside, and I'm like, you couldn't just shoot that.
I wonder if they use the volume, because
I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
I know a lot of them
you gotta know how to use that thing.
Some people aren't using it anymore, from what I heard, because now people are like, if you don't, like Marco said, if you don't know how to use it, it's really obvious. Because there's a couple of shots, man, where I was like, "Woo, that looks terrible."
The cherry blossoms,
which could have been such a cool looking scene, by the way. I always assumed that was going to be in Japan, by the way.
So they could have fit that in this too. So
I'm just saying. But.
Well, what did we think about the action portion of the film? Then, I mean, I don't think we really talked. I mean, I liked Sidewinder and the fight there, but I'll go to you, Marco. What did you think about some of the other action scenes that they had over? There was quite a bit of rumbling and tussling happening in this movie.
Yeah, I think the fights with Sidewinder and with Red Hulk, I think were the highlight scenes, because those were the ones where Cap was really put in peril and where Sam Wilson was really tested, and he really showed like what he really had to step up to. And I felt like those fights were also choreographed the best, even though some of it was a bit sloppy. I think some of the other fights like felt a little sluggish, like when he was taking on like the dudes who I think were part of the Serpent Society. It didn't feel as, again, like, look, it ain't my fault people are comparing this to Winter Soldier, which is why I'm making this comparison. But you look at the boat fight scene in Winter Soldier and how like quick and sleek it is and how just on point it is, and that fight, and it's night and day. Even when Sam Wilson is in one of like the better fights against Sidewinder's trying to do these like pseudo Bucky Winter Soldier moves where he's like moving the knife around, and I'm like, that just looks like a copycat scene and not really good. It looks like me and James filmed that in his backyard. So, you know,
we might end up there. I mean,
yeah. So
I think that's a contrast though between the two Captain America's two. I think that is one way of showing it, just showing how Bucky is always going to have this kind of uphill battle too. Not Bucky, sorry. Good God, Sam Wilson. Sorry, I was thinking about the person I wanted to be Captain America. Like he's always going to have an uphill battle, but you know, we've beaten it enough, Nabil.
Yeah. I think the first fights. I think Nabil was talking about
words from
earlier.
you. Go to the ratings now. No, I'm just gonna go ahead, Mike.
No, I was saying I was saying in the beginning that I didn't really like the style of the new Captain America, and I think they actually
no. You said you did not like the new Captain America. Don't try to backtrack, Mikey.
no, but I mean,
you on tape.
Either way, the first fight scene showed how he wasn't a super soldier, but he did use the tech a lot in the beginning. I kind of liked how he used like the drones and the tech
Red
from
Wing.
Wakanda.
Red
Yeah,
Wing
and
is-
he was using all that stuff. I thought
weird,
that
but
was
I
really
mean,
cool. I
sure.
actually wanted more of that in the future fights, which we didn't get a lot of in the future, like the ones later in the movie. So I did like that in the beginning fighting scenes.
I think Red Wing was
Mikey's like he needs to. Yeah, he uses them when he fights Red Hulk.
yeah.
for like 2 seconds. Because
Well, I mean, he's fighting
them out of the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't use them.
He's shooting with lasers.
Well, okay. I think we have beaten this film as much as we can. Let's jump into
Just-
let's jump into our ratings, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the spoilers in this film. I'm going to start with you, James. What did you give this film out of 5?
I gave this one a 2.5. I probably won't rewatch it anytime soon. Like Mikey said, though, I still had a decent time watching it with Michael here. We watched it together once again, and it was okay. It was just one of those turn my brain off. That's how I feel like John's gonna probably say the same thing, but kind of how I do it for 95% of the other Marvel films too. So
burn out, man. All right.
I'm not burned out. I'm not burned out. I didn't say once that I'm burned out. I did not say that. Don't be putting words in my mouth, Bill.
Mikey, what did you give this film?
I gave this one a 3. So the stuff I didn't like, it didn't really bother me that much. So I gave it a 3.
You said you didn't like the Captain America.
No, I said I didn't like him, but they addressed it in the movie, so I don't mind it.
Okay, Marco, what did you give this film?
It's Anthony Mackie, and I feel bad he had to be attached to this movie. He's trying. So my rating went from 1 to 1.5 star.
Okay. I gave this 3 stars. So I think there's a lot to be wanted in this film, but the acting was great. So there's that. Everybody's trying with what they got. All right. So if you haven't seen the film and after listening to our review, you still want to watch it before going into the spoiler section, please do. And then jump back in with us to listen to what our thoughts are on some of the spoiler parts. Otherwise, jump forward a little bit and we'll tell you what's going on in our next pod. So, spoilers here. The ending of the film, essentially we have the Red Hulk hulking out, going crazy. He finally does get angry. The leader finally gets what he wants, but also gives up, turns himself in to make that happen. So cool. I don't know what to think about that ending with specifically the leader. Like the Red Hulk was fun, but James,
he tells that Navy SEAL, I can't have you tell him. And then 2 minutes later, I'll tell him myself.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute. Did you just kill a character off?
He was a nice guy.
For no reason.
I was like, oh, this is a reshoot that they forgot they left in the movie. Yeah. And then like
one of
Harrison
the only
Ford,
smart guys in the movie that was like, don't trust nothing, and he's trying to do the right thing.
And then Harrison Ford's just like, I'm getting real angry here. So, I mean, I gotta say though, the Red Hulk fight scene is the coolest part of the movie to me. Yeah. Chewie, get the Falcon. Hurry.
If you don't give me the Falcon back.
I don't know. I just really liked Harrison Ford, man. So
he was great. I know there were some reviews that I'd read saying that he was phoning it in, but I was like, I think he was having a great time.
Dude, if anything, he's been phoning in a couple of his last performances. This one, definitely not.
Yeah.
He seemed like he had like a good time shooting this. Like he just generally had fun. Which is good to see. I love Harrison Ford, guys.
Did he play the Hulk in the CG? Like, was that him doing the mocap?
I do not know that. I highly doubt that was him. He's like 82 years old, dude. I mean, that'd be insane, right? I know cool, originally there was like the whole point was they were supposed to bring the adamantium in. That's the only thing that was going to hurt him in the original cut. So he was going to stab him with the adamantium.
But it was cutting him with the vibranium. I guess the vibranium was enough. So,
I thought that he was going to get a new suit out of adamantium, and that's what would have helped him go toe to toe with the Hulk. But
that's for somebody called name Wolverine.
Yeah, I thought that was the case too, Marco, with him saving the Japanese pilots because that's what they were saying, And so I thought that, they're going to reward him like the Wakandans did. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
But we forget Sam Wilson never gets rewarded.
Yeah, well.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. We got a couple more movies with him. Don't worry. He got a 10-year contract.
I mean, he's going to have to be in Civil War. Or not Civil Secret Wars, I mean. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, we've also got a couple cameos that come in. Okay, let me tell you something about one of the cameos. We had Bucky Barnes show up. Tell me why that was the best part of the film. I was like, Bucky's here, and I was excited for once.
Wait, why is he a politician though?
Yeah, I guess so.
The last film too.
Wait, was he? What?
They were pushing him to, follow a career in politics. Is what they were saying. Like
in
his story
the show?
They mentioned like him wanting to, it was not him who wanted to do it. Somebody was recommending him to do it. I think it was one of the characters recommended him to be a politician or go in that
very
track.
Specific. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was weird. I thought for a second, I said that'd be really cool if this was Chris Evans right now, like old man one. Like I heard,
that would be nice.
Heard your Falcon almost died.
That would have made more sense rather than have Bucky, who's like, I know you need help and all, and I'm the Winter Soldier, but I'm gonna freaking bounce to do something less important. I'm like,
I gotta go to a campaign dinner.
No, yeah, he says I got the Thunderbolts thing going on right now. Sorry, you'll find out in 3 months.
It's like you can't have me. I would sit the Hulk down with one punch. So
yeah, and then honestly, I thought Bucky's about to be like, you can give me the shield. I'm like, come on, give it to him. Give him the shield. It should have been him anyways.
I think it was a good exchange, though. Like, I like that conversation they had about saying to him that Captain America picked him for a reason versus,
which it reiterates the whole point. Like, I mean, Joaquin really hams it up a little bit at the end there. I was like, really? Falcon's the one guy you saw that you wanted to be? I'm like, you didn't see like, and I was like, Falcon's a guy?
Iron Man.
I'm like,
Captain America,
even Hawkeye.
He's like, hey man, I saw you through the looks, man, and dang, I wanted to be the Falcon, baby.
Yeah, he's like, open the window, man. I gotta let the cigarette smoke out. I was like, okay, that's weird.
And then we had a tease throughout the film that Liv Tyler would be in the film, and then she showed up.
I thought it was just gonna be a phone call.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice little thing that they brought her. But I want to actually ask your opinion, James. Do you think she wasn't really there? It was just a green screen.
She was
just had her. I think
she was
so.
there. Yeah, pretty sure she was there. Yeah, I was like, that's nice. At least we get to. It's kind of like a running joke that we never see her. They always mention her, just kind of like how Jane Foster was for a bit when they didn't have them on a contract because they couldn't like bring her back. So I was like, because remember, like in the Avengers, he's like, yeah, we made sure Betty's okay, and then the first
she
one
wasn't
was
even
like,
the third film for when she was I guess it's not really World War Hulk, but Thor Ragnarok, like nowhere to be found either. So everybody was missing.
Wait, what are you talking about, Betty?
Betty wasn't. He was on a different planet. And Hulk was on a different planet for like years, and Betty wasn't worried about him. Nobody mentioned.
Well, he brings her up though. I think he mentions her.
Yeah, he does.
Like that. That's about it. But it was nice. It was nice seeing her. I actually like that little exchange where, even though Ross is not the greatest guy, but it is shown that his daughter is somewhat wants to have him back in her life, even though he's in the what's it called, the raft or whatever. I mean, it's just terrible. I was trying to look around though. I was like, who other bad guys are in here? There's some cameos in here.
No, I'm glad he was facing consequences. It'll give him a chance to redeem and to make up for everything he's done for. That's the one time where they didn't take a half measure, and I was like, I'm surprised they put this fool in jail.
Yeah. I like I said, I like, and then dude, Harrison Ford just acts really well. He starts tearing up. I was just like, that's a nice little scene.
I like
still
that.
got it, man. He might be 82, but he still got it, man.
Of course. Yeah. And then Mikey, just to ask you too, any thoughts on that post-credit scene?
Well, it's the two worlds are colliding, right? It's part of the multiverse. Where
is that the Secret Wars thing? Is that what they're talking about?
Yeah, it's a Secret Wars thing. Yeah.
Talking about the
So
X-Men?
it's like two worlds are colliding, and if one doesn't get destroyed, then they both get destroyed.
Is that a Fantastic Four reference?
That's the whole.
It should be part of Fantastic Four as well. Yeah.
I didn't really get that one.
One of many things. Battle World. He could mean mutants. He could mean.
That's where I was looking at. Was Battle World, Marco. That's that, I guess.
The Battle World is from Secret Wars, right?
Yeah. Any other thoughts, guys? I think we've talked quite a bit about this film, but I'll let you guys have any last say here. I'll go back and say acting was great. Everybody tried. So can't help bad writing.
I just really like Harrison Ford.
Right. I'm much you there.
I'm glad Anthony Mackie is Captain America. I think his character has potential with better writing. I think he did good with what he had, and there were scenes where he did shine and he was great. When he was vulnerable, it really hit, especially when he was talking about Steve Rogers saved the end of the world twice, or he saved from aliens twice. How am I supposed to compare to that? Like you feel the weight on his shoulders. I hope they course correct. I hope for the next one they really go out swinging. No more of this.
This is supposedly the last movie that the ex-CEO of Disney had any hand in, by the way, before Bob Iger came back. So that's why the rumor is like that's why this one is such a mess. But everything past this now is like supposedly a cleaner slate.
New guard. Or the old guard.
The old guard back of like how they used to give Kevin Feige a lot more power. Like he didn't have a lot of power in these last couple movies because it's insane to think that the Thunderbolts is the end of Phase 5, and I'm like, oh my god, what was even Phase 5 about?
I know,
right? I'm like, whew,
putting all the toys into one movie and just let some of these freaking characters breathe, man.
Yeah, keep it more solo where we don't need to set up a new movie. Like I don't mind watching just something where it's set by itself. Like honestly, Thunderbolts looks like it might be pretty fun just because it looks like it's a self-contained story.
I agree.
It's cool when they connect, but not so like freaking obviously.
Not like the point of a film is to set up another film. Like, yo, you can connect it. I don't need to have it so heavy-handed. Is my opinion on it. So
that's what post credits are for.
Yeah, like give me a little tease at the end. This one wasn't that good, so.
I think if you're going to intertwine them like that, like if you're going to intertwine a bunch of movies, they need to be starting out from fresh. Like you can't
this was like
anything no more. They started in the middle.
This was like let's follow up some loose ends on this one. So
yeah.
All right, guys, that's the end of the podcast. We really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Marco, let them know how they can reach us.
You can listen and follow us on your preferred podcast platform. We are everywhere. For a convenient link to all our social media channels, visit linktree/moviepalspod. That's linktr.ee/moviepalspod. And remember, smash that subscribe button like you're the Red Hulk, and you'll never miss an episode in this franchise or the next.
Plus, catch us on TikTok for sneak peeks of upcoming episodes and more exciting movie content. Follow us at Movie Pals Pod.
Make sure to tune in for our next episode, podcast episode number 193, where we will be going over our Oscar results, including the winner of our annual Oscar bowling, and we'll continue on our review of Star Trek with the next one, Star Trek Insurrection.
Thank you, Nabil. Until next time, this is James,
Marco,
Nabil,
and Mikey.
Have a great one.